Have you ever paused in the quiet of your night and wondered what lies beneath the fabric of what we call reality? Not the trees, not the stars, not even the galaxies, but the tiny invisible threads that weave them all together. The particles, the energy, the strange hidden dimension where everything we know is born. What if the universe you see is only a veil, an illusion, covering a truth so alien, so subtle, that your senses cannot grasp it? Tonight, we are going to step into that mystery. Not just to learn about it, but to feel it. To let the words sink into your mind like waves against a sleeping shore. To drift into a state where imagination and reality blur, and where the impossible becomes possible. Before we step through the veil, let me ask you to stay with me. If these journeys stir your curiosity, if they calm your thoughts, if they make you wonder just a little deeper, then gently press like. Let the ripples reach further. Leave a comment below. Share with me the questions that haunt your quiet hours. And don't forget to subscribe, because here, every night we walk together into realms uncharted, guided not by certainty, but by wonder. Close your eyes if you can. Let your breath slow. Imagine the world around you dissolving, the walls melting away into stars, the floor beneath your feet turning into a river of glowing particles. Every blink of your eyelids becomes a door, every thought a particle, every silence a whole dimension waiting to be unveiled. We are about to dive into the quantum realm, a place smaller than atoms, stranger than dreams, a place where time may not exist, where particles dance between being and not being, where reality itself is a question mark. This is not a lecture, it is a voyage. And tonight, you and I will drift together into the infinite unknown to see what lies beyond perception. So breathe, relax, and let us begin. From the moment you were born, your world has been shaped by your senses. You learned to see the colors of dawn, to hear the music of voices, to feel the warmth of sunlight against your skin. Your body became your compass, your five senses the map upon which you built reality. Yet, what if I told you this map is incomplete? What if your senses, so trusted and familiar, are only fragments of a greater truth? Fragments too small to capture the immensity of what exists. Consider sight. You look around your room and you think you see everything, the chair, the walls, the flicker of light. But what you actually see is a sliver, just a tiny island in an ocean of hidden waves. The human eye is tuned to a narrow band of the electromagnetic spectrum, a fragile rainbow floating between ultraviolet and infrared. We call it visible light, but it is only a whisper in the cosmic symphony. Above it lies gamma rays, X-rays, ultraviolet, energies invisible yet powerful enough to alter the very cells of your body. Below it lie radio waves, microwaves, infrared, signals that hum all around you, unseen, undetected. You are blind to most of reality, but your blindness feels normal, so you mistake it for the truth. Now think of hearing. Your ears can catch a limited range of vibrations, from the low rumble of a distant storm to the high chirp of a bird hidden in the trees. But beyond those limits exists a world of inaudible sound. The whales sing in frequencies too deep for you to hear, while bats map the night sky with ultrasonic clicks your ears cannot comprehend. And yet, you walk through this unseen concert daily, believing silence reigns where in truth 1,000 voices echo. Even touch, the most intimate of senses, betrays you. You feel solidity, the firmness of the ground, the weight of your body in a chair. But at the atomic level, nothing is truly solid. Matter is mostly empty space. What you experience as touch is not contact at all, but the repulsion of electromagnetic forces, a dance of particles refusing to collapse into one another. You never really touch anything. You only feel the echo of resistance, an illusion carved into your nerves by forces you cannot see. And smell and taste, those fleeting, fragile senses that color your memories and stir your emotions, are merely translations of chemical interactions, keys fitting into molecular locks. Your mind translates them into perfume, into sweetness, into nostalgia, but they are only signals, nothing more. All five senses together form the world you think you know, but step back and you realize they are filters, not windows. They give you survival, not truth. They show you just enough to walk, eat, love, dream, but not enough to understand the universe. Now imagine this. If your senses are a cage, then what lies beyond them is the infinite. Invisible particles weaving through your body right now, neutrinos streaming from distant stars, passing through you as if you were smoke. Quantum fluctuations bubbling in the vacuum of space. Momentary ghosts appearing and vanishing, reshaping reality before you even realize it. Dark matter, an unseen ocean holding galaxies in its embrace, yet invisible to your eyes, untouchable to your hands. Whole realms of being stretched just beyond perception, and yet you live, day by day, inside the tiny cage of what your senses allow. The quantum realm does not care about your eyes, or your ears, or your skin. It exists regardless of what you can sense. It hums beneath perception, a secret architecture upon which all visible reality is built. And when you begin to see the fragility of your senses, you begin to wonder, how much of reality have I mistaken for truth? How much of what I believe is only a shadow on the wall of a greater hidden world? The ancient mystics, long before the word quantum was ever spoken, hinted at this. They spoke of veils, of illusions, of Maya, the dreamlike nature of existence. They whispered that what we see is not the whole, that deeper layers wait behind the surface. And now, in the age of science, we return to the same mystery with new language, new tools. We peer into atoms with microscopes, smash particles together in great colliders, and what we find is stranger than myth, more mysterious than legend. Your senses draw the curtain closed, but quantum physics pulls it open, and in the crack of that opening, you begin to see not just a world, but a multiverse of possibilities. So, let us walk further. Let us slip past the prison of perception and dive into the vast ocean of the unseen. For in the quantum realm, the limits of your senses are left behind, and only the limitless remains. Imagine holding a microscope in your hands, a tool, a window, a promise. You press your eye to the lens, and suddenly the invisible comes alive. The fabric of cloth becomes a forest of threads. A drop of water turns into a bustling city of strange creatures, each more alien than the last. It feels for a moment as though you have slipped beyond the human limit, as though nothing is hidden anymore. But the microscope, for all its marvel, is still a cage. It can stretch your vision, magnify the unseen, but it cannot show you everything. Its reach has boundaries, and beyond those boundaries lies a world it cannot touch. The first boundary is scale. Even the most powerful electron microscopes, capable of rendering atoms as ghostly shadows, cannot capture the true essence of the quantum world. They can hint, they can suggest, but what unfolds beneath their reach is not an image, not a static picture, but a dance. Particles do not sit still for our observation. They flicker, vanish, appear, shift. They are waves and particles, probabilities and potentials. No lens, however sharp, can pin them down completely. To observe is to disturb. To measure is to alter. And so, the very act of looking through the microscope changes the thing being looked at. This is the paradox of perception. Our tools expand our vision, but even our tools are bound by the same limits we are. The microscope is an extension of our eyes, and so it inherits their flaws. It magnifies, yes, but it cannot break free of the laws of observation themselves. It cannot reveal a world that refuses to be fixed in one form. Beyond the microscope's reach lies the quantum haze, a fog of possibilities. Electrons do not orbit neatly like planets, though for centuries we pictured them so. Instead, they smear across space, existing in clouds, not in paths. The closer we look, the less certain the world becomes. What once seemed solid becomes blurred. What once felt permanent dissolves into maybes. And yet, there is another layer to this mystery, one that the microscope cannot even begin to approach. For what lies beneath the quantum is not just smallness, but strangeness. It is a place where logic bends, where intuition fails, where the familiar rules of time and space no longer apply. No lens can capture that. No magnification can translate the language of probabilities into the steady certainty our senses crave. This is why the microscope, for all its power, remains only a stepping stone. It can guide us toward the unseen, but it cannot walk us through the veil. It can point, but not explain. It can reveal patterns, but not the essence that gives them form. It is like standing at the edge of a forest, hearing whispers from within, but never stepping into the trees. So how do we step in? How do we peer into the realm beyond perception? Here, science becomes less about looking and more about listening. Equations become our eyes, mathematics our microscope. Symbols and numbers replace images, for what we seek cannot be drawn, only described in abstract thought. It is unsettling, isn't it? To realize that our tools of sight, Our instruments of clarity reach a limit where imagination must take over. We can no longer lean on pictures, no longer rely on diagrams or lenses. We must step into the dark, armed only with theories, with probabilities, with the courage to admit we cannot see, yet we can still know. And perhaps that is the greatest mystery, that knowledge itself can stretch beyond perception, that truth does not require sight, that understanding is born not of looking, but of questioning. The microscope, in its silence, teaches us this, that beyond its reach lies not emptiness, but a deeper reality waiting to be uncovered. So close your eyes again. Forget the lens, forget the tool. Imagine not what you can magnify, but what exists without magnification. Particles flickering in and out of being, fields humming beneath existence, the whole universe trembling at the smallest scale. Beyond the microscope's reach lies this vast, endless dance. And it is here, in this dance, that the true story of the quantum realm begins. Place your hand on the table before you. Feel its firmness, its certainty, the way it resists your touch. It feels solid, unyielding, undeniable. This sensation is one of the cornerstones of your reality, the comfort of knowing that the ground will hold you, that the walls will not melt, that the world around you is made of matter, fixed and tangible. But this solidity, this reassuring firmness, is not what it seems. It is an illusion, a mirage, a carefully orchestrated trick played by the universe at the smallest scales. Let us peel back the layers. The table you touch is made of molecules. Each molecule, in turn, is made of atoms. Atoms, though once imagined as tiny, indivisible marbles, are mostly emptiness. Picture this. If an atom were the size of a vast cathedral, the nucleus at its heart would be no larger than a grain of rice. The rest, what fills the grand dome, the hallways, the open spaces, would be void, not substance, not structure, just emptiness. And yet, within that emptiness, electrons flicker like restless shadows, darting so quickly, so unpredictably, that the illusion of solidity is born. Like bees swarming in a hive, they create the impression of a barrier. But in truth, your hand never really touches the table. What you feel is not contact, but resistance. The pushback of electromagnetic forces, fields that repel one another, keeping particles from collapsing into one another's embrace. In other words, you are floating above the world, your body never truly making contact with anything. Every hug, every step, every moment of touch is, at its core, an interaction of invisible forces, not the meeting of matter with matter. And here is where the quantum strangeness deepens. For even those particles, the electrons, the protons, the neutrons, are not the solid anchors we once believed them to be. They too dissolve under scrutiny, revealing themselves not as things, but as events, as ripples in fields, as probabilities smeared across space and time. The deeper we look, the less we find. Solidity gives way to uncertainty. Matter dissolves into mathematics. Think about what this means for your daily life. The chair you sit on, the food you eat, the body you inhabit, all are built upon this illusion. You trust solidity because your senses insist upon it, because your survival depends on it. But beneath that trust lies a truth both unsettling and liberating. That what you believe to be fixed is, in reality, fluid. That what feels permanent is, in truth, a dance of emptiness and energy. This realization is not new. Philosophers and mystics across cultures and centuries spoke of the illusory nature of the world. They called it Maya, the grand play of appearances. They suggested that the material world is not the ultimate reality, but a fleeting surface over a deeper truth. And now, science affirms their whispers. The microscope, the collider, the equation, all reveal that matter is not matter, but patterns of energy stitched into a lattice of emptiness. So what is it that gives rise to the illusion of solidity? It is rhythm, it is repetition, it is the quantum ballet. Electrons orbiting in their hazy clouds, particles bound together by forces both delicate and immense. The strong nuclear force glues the nucleus together, while the electromagnetic force prevents collapse. Each interaction becomes a note in a cosmic symphony, and together, these notes form the song of solidity. But like music, solidity exists only while the dance continues. It is not a thing in itself, but the harmony of forces moving together in balance. Pause here for a moment and reflect. The ground beneath your feet feels firm, but in truth, you are standing on emptiness. Your body feels tangible, but it is a collection of forces resisting collapse. You live inside a mirage so convincing, so perfectly tuned to your senses, that you rarely question it. And yet, when you do, a strange beauty emerges. For what is more extraordinary than a universe that can weave stability out of emptiness? What is more miraculous than the illusion of touch, the warmth of a hand, the solidity of a home, all born from a dance of forces you can never see? In the quantum realm, solidity dissolves into shimmering patterns of uncertainty. But rather than making the world less real, this realization makes it more profound, because it reveals that reality is not a thing but a process, a continuous unfolding, a performance without end. So the next time you press your hand against a wall, the next time you lean back into your chair, remember this: you are not touching solidity, you are touching emptiness, held together by invisible forces, singing the ancient illusion of form. And perhaps in that awareness, you will feel less like a prisoner of the material world and more like a guest in a cosmic theater where nothing is as it seems, and everything is more mysterious than it appears. Imagine for a moment that reality is not made of things, but of music. Not of bricks stacked upon bricks, but of rhythms, vibrations, harmonies echoing through an unseen chamber. Every atom, every particle, every corner of existence sings its note, and together they weave the endless score of creation. It sounds poetic, doesn't it? And yet, this is no mere metaphor. This is the essence of the quantum world. Beneath the illusion of solidity, beneath the emptiness we've already uncovered, lies a deeper truth. Everything you know is not fixed, but vibrating. Not objects, but oscillations. Not permanence, but patterns of movement rippling like waves across the ocean of reality. Let's step back into history. For centuries, scientists argued, is light a particle or is it a wave? When Isaac Newton, with his piercing eyes and disciplined mind, saw beams splitting through glass, he imagined particles, tiny corpuscles of light traveling like sparks through space. But others, like Huygens, imagined waves, ripples spreading outward like circles in a pond. This argument raged across generations until experiments began to whisper the strange answer. It is both. Light is a particle, yes, but it is also a wave. And when we look closer, we find that matter itself, electrons, atoms, the very essence of what makes you, is also a wave. Think about that for a moment. You, sitting here, listening to these words, are not just a body of bones and skin. You are a symphony of vibrations. Your atoms hum with frequencies. Your particles spread as waves of probability. You are, at your core, music made flesh. But the symphony is hidden. Our senses are deaf to it. Our eyes cannot see the waves. Our ears cannot hear them. Yet they are always playing, always surrounding us, always weaving reality into being. If you could suddenly hear the frequencies of atoms, if you could tune your senses beyond their narrow band, the world would erupt into sound, not noise, not chaos, but a great orchestral harmony, each particle playing its part in the universal score. This idea becomes tangible in the famous experiment. The double slit, a beam of particles, shot through two slits, creates not two bands, but a pattern, a ripple, an interference, a signature of waves colliding. Even when we send particles one at a time, they still form this pattern, as though each particle is aware of possibilities, dancing between them, spreading itself like a wave of potential before collapsing into reality. The hidden symphony makes itself known, not in the visible, but in the echoes of probability. What does this mean for your life, for your sense of being? It means you are not a solid, separate thing. You are a wave, entangled with countless other waves. Your every breath, your every thought is part of a greater music you cannot hear. You are not alone, for your frequencies blend into the frequencies of all around you. Your body, the chair, the air, the stars, a cosmic orchestra in which no note is separate, no sound is ever lost. And here lies the beauty. Waves do not end where one thing begins. They spread, overlap, interfere, combine. This is why a thought, a word, a gesture ripples outward further than you know. The quantum waves remind us everything touches everything. Every vibration is shared. Every action leaves a trace in the symphony of the universe. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine you could hear it. Not with your ears, but with some deeper sense within you. Imagine galaxies humming, stars pulsing like drums, atoms chiming like bells. Imagine the universe itself as a vast instrument, an existence as the song it plays. This is the hidden symphony. Not metaphor, not dream, but the fabric of quantum truth. And though you cannot hear it, though it lies beyond your perception, you are still part of it. Your heartbeat is a drumbeat in this score, your breath a wind instrument, your thoughts subtle strings vibrating in silence. You are the music of the cosmos, and the cosmos is the music of you. The quantum realm teaches us this, that the universe is not a collection of objects, but an orchestra of waves, forever playing, forever evolving. And once you glimpse this truth, you begin to see everything differently. Not as fixed, not as solid, but as sound, invisible, eternal sound, resonating through the silence of space. So when you walk, when you speak, when you simply sit in the stillness of night, remember, the hidden symphony of waves is all around you, and you are not just listening to it, you are singing it. When you look at the world, you expect certainty. The sun will rise tomorrow, your heart will beat its rhythm, the cup you place on the table will remain there until you lift it again. This expectation of order, of predictability, is the scaffolding upon which your sense of reality rests. But step into the quantum realm, and the scaffolding dissolves. Here, certainty is not the rule, possibility is. Particles do not march to fixed paths. They drift like whispers across a field of maybes. The universe at this scale does not say, this is what is. It says, this is what could be. Take the electron, the most faithful of quantum messengers. In your mind, perhaps, it is like a bead orbiting a nucleus, a tiny planet circling a tiny sun. But reality refuses to be so simple. The electron does not choose one orbit. Instead, it spreads, a cloud of probability surrounding the nucleus, a fog of presence that suggests many places at once. It is here, it is there, it is everywhere and nowhere until you dare to look. And when you look, when you measure, the fog collapses. The wave of possibilities shrinks into one outcome. The electron chooses, or perhaps more truthfully, the act of looking forces the choice. Your observation carves certainty out of uncertainty, plucks a single thread from the tapestry of maybes. But once the choice is made, the other possibilities vanish like shadows at dawn. This is the infamous wave function collapse, a phrase that hides behind mathematics but carries within it a poetic paradox. For it suggests that reality is not fully real until it is observed, that the universe itself lingers in uncertainty, waiting for an eye, a mind, a presence to crystallize its options into fact. Think about that. Every particle around you, every atom in your body, every photon of light that strikes your eyes, all of them are not fixed, not definite, until they interact, until they are seen, until they are measured. You are surrounded by shadows of probability, ghosts of what might be, and only when attention touches them do they settle into what is. This raises unsettling questions. Is the universe, at its deepest level, a dream waiting to be noticed? Are we co-creators, our observation weaving reality into being moment by moment? Or does reality exist, whole and unshaken? And it is only our knowledge that shifts, our perception that collapses the fog. Even physicists wrestle with this riddle. The Copenhagen interpretation tells us, particles exist as probabilities until observed. The many worlds interpretation whispers instead, no collapse ever occurs. Every possibility happens, each in its own branching universe. In one world, the electron is here. In another, it is there. In countless others, it is everywhere else it could have been. Reality multiplies endlessly, each probability birthing a world of its own. And what of you? In one world, you lifted your cup of tea. In another, you let it rest. In one world, you chose silence. In another, you chose to speak. Every choice, every chance, creates shadows of probability, most unseen, but perhaps not unreal. Yet whether or not you believe in branching worlds, the lesson of the quantum remains the same. Certainty is fragile, possibility is fundamental. The universe is not a rigid structure, but a field of potential, waiting to crystallize into form. Your life is not carved in stone. It is a haze of futures, some near, some distant, all trembling with the energy of what could be. Close your eyes now and imagine your own wave function. See yourself as a cloud of possibility, 1,000 versions of you unfolding like petals in different directions. Some paths bright, some shadowed, some that make sense, others wild and strange. All exist in potential, and each moment, Each choice collapses the haze into a single step forward. But do not think of this as limiting. Think of it as liberating, for within the shadows of probability lies the freedom to shape, to choose, to dream into existence the path you wish to walk. The quantum realm is not chaos, it is possibility, and you are not a prisoner of fate. You are a participant in the great unfolding. The universe, at its smallest scale, reminds us of this truth, that life is not fixed, that reality is not rigid, that everything is born not from certainty, but from the shimmering shadows of probability. And so, the next time you feel trapped in inevitability, remember the quantum. Remember the haze, the maybes, the unseen pathways branching all around you. For just as the electron chooses its place only when pressed, so too do you have the power to collapse your possibilities into the life you wish to live. Imagine two particles, tiny, invisible, drifting in the vast emptiness of space. At first glance, they are nothing special, just fragments of matter adrift in a sea of silence. But then, something extraordinary happens. They connect, not in the way we think of connection, not by touch or by sound or by proximity, but by a mysterious thread that binds them across the void. This thread is not a rope you can see, not a string you can grasp. It is a law of the universe, hidden, inexplicable, yet undeniable. From the moment these particles intertwine, their fates are no longer their own. One moves, the other responds. One spins, the other mirrors. And here's the unsettling truth. This happens no matter the distance. Whether they are a breath apart or galaxies away, their dance is instant, immediate, faster than light itself. Einstein, with all his brilliance, looked at this phenomenon and shuddered. He called it spooky action at a distance, as if even his towering mind could not quite accept the strangeness. And perhaps, if you think of it too long, it begins to gnaw at your sense of what is real. For how can two things be bound when nothing touches them? How can a signal leap across space without crossing the space between? Close your eyes and imagine two stars falling apart in the night sky, yet bound by a single invisible thread. No matter how far they drift, the thread never snaps. Their song echoes across the cosmos, in perfect harmony no matter the distance. That is entanglement. The universe whispering that separation may only be an illusion. And if that is true, if two particles can exist as one thought, one rhythm, one inseparable dance, then what does it mean for us? Could your heartbeat, in some unfathomable way, be linked to a star burning in another galaxy? Could your thoughts ripple through the cosmos, carried on invisible currents of connection? Entanglement is not just physics, it is poetry. It tells us that the universe is not a scatter of lonely fragments, but a woven fabric. Every thread, no matter how distant, belongs to the same tapestry. To study it is to realize that you and I may not be entirely separate, but ripples of the same great wave. Now, imagine lying down in a quiet field under the stars. As you watch the constellations burn overhead, think of the invisible threads linking every point of light to every other. Stars to stars, particles to particles, souls to souls. Entanglement is not only a property of particles, it is the quiet possibility that everything is already connected, beyond the reach of perception. What does it mean to be here? To sit in your room, your breath rising and falling, your body anchored to the chair, your mind tethered to the sense of place. Here feels obvious. It is the very definition of existence. You are not there, you are here. And everything else, from the stars above to the grains of dust beneath your floorboards, is somewhere else. But in the quantum realm, this certainty begins to unravel. The neat separations blur. The comforting walls of distance soften until they no longer hold. You find yourself standing in a place where the word here loses meaning, and the word there dissolves into silence. Imagine this. A violin string vibrates in a darkened room. You pluck it, and a note emerges. The sound is not trapped to the string. It echoes, it fills the space, it touches the walls, it reaches your ears. The note is not in one place. It is everywhere at once, diffused, spread like a whisper over the entire room. This is how particles behave in the quantum world. They are not where we expect them to be. They are clouds, waves, probabilities. Their existence is smeared across space, as though they refuse to be confined. And when we say a particle is here, what we really mean is, it might be here, it might be there, It might be anywhere until we dare to look. Locality, the idea that things can only affect what is near them, is a comfort we cling to. But in the quantum world, this comfort shatters. A particle on one side of the universe may dance in rhythm with its twin on the other side, ignoring the rules of distance, ignoring the limitations of speed, mocking the barriers of space itself. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a great mirror lake at midnight. The water is perfectly still, reflecting the stars above. You toss a pebble into the dark surface, and ripples spread outward in perfect circles. But then, impossibly, ripples appear not only where the pebble touched, but in countless other places across the lake, as if the entire body of water responded as one. That is what non-locality whispers to us. The universe may not be a collection of separate ponds, each disturbed in isolation. It may be one vast interconnected ocean where every ripple echoes everywhere at once. Einstein resisted this. To him, the notion of non-locality was intolerable. The speed of light was the ultimate speed limit. Nothing, he believed, could leap faster than that great constant. And yet, again and again, experiments showed otherwise. Again and again, entangled particles laughed at the laws, communicating across distances in an instant. But maybe communicating is the wrong word, because communication assumes separation. You send, I receive. What if there was never a sending, never a receiving? What if the particles were never two, but always one? Non-locality is not a signal leaping across space. It is the recognition that space itself might be an illusion. Now, let us step deeper. What is space? You imagine a void, a canvas, a stretch of emptiness in which planets and galaxies drift. But what if space is not the stage but the actor? What if it is not a backdrop but a living, dynamic participant in this cosmic play? Quantum mechanics hints at this. It tells us that at the smallest scales, the vacuum of space is not empty. It boils with energy, teeming with fluctuations, restless and alive. To say a particle is here or there may be as nonsensical as saying a wave belongs to a single grain of water. The wave belongs to the ocean, and the ocean belongs to the wave. Perhaps here and there are illusions created by perception. Perception evolved to guide survival in the middle world of rocks and rivers and trees. But perception is not truth. Perception is a filter, a simplification, a comforting mask. Strip it away, and the quantum world appears. Strange, dazzling, terrifyingly unified. Imagine drifting into a dream where the laws of distance melt away. You walk across a field, yet with each step you are both moving and not moving. You reach out to touch a star, and it is already in your palm. You whisper into the void, and galaxies on the other side of the cosmos respond in chorus. In this dream, you realize locality was never real. It was a story your mind told to feel safe. In truth, you are stitched into everything, stitched so deeply that the word separation becomes meaningless. And maybe this is what mystics felt when they spoke of unity, of oneness, of being everywhere and nowhere. Maybe science and spirit are not at odds, but two languages describing the same ineffable reality. The illusion of distance, the illusion of division. Take a breath, let it fill your chest. Now exhale and imagine that breath traveling outward, not stopping at your lips, not dissolving into the air, but stretching infinitely, becoming a wave that touches every particle, every star, every universe. That is the true breath, non-local, inseparable, eternal. And here's the secret. This is not philosophy. This is not metaphor. This is physics, tested, measured, confirmed. The quantum realm tells us locality is not fundamental. We are not islands. We are not fragments. We are threads woven into the same cloth, currents of the same great sea. So the next time you sit alone in your room, feeling the heavy cloak of separation, remember, you are not alone. Your thoughts ripple outward. Your existence resonates with galaxies. Your being is not here or there, it is everywhere. The illusion of locality fades, and in its place, a truth more profound. You are the cosmos, folded into itself, looking back through human eyes, wondering at its own reflection. What does it mean to look? You may think it is simple. Light touches an object, your eyes gather the waves, your brain interprets the signals, and in an instant, the world appears. But in the quantum realm, looking is not a passive act. It is not gentle. It is not neutral. To look is to disturb. To observe is to transform. This is the paradox that unsettles scientists and philosophers alike. In the strange dance of quantum mechanics, reality is not fixed until it is observed. Before you look, the particle is a cloud, a shimmering haze of possibilities. After you look, the cloud collapses into one definite place, one measurable fact. The universe changes in the act of being watched. Picture a cat sealed inside a box. You've heard the story before, Schrödinger's famous riddle. Inside, the cat is tied to a quantum event, a particle's decay, a fragile trigger. If the particle decays, the cat dies. If it does not, the cat lives. Until you open the box, the cat is both dead and alive, both purring and still, both possibilities coexisting in a ghostly limbo. It sounds absurd. It is absurd. Yet this is the nature of the quantum world. Possibilities stacked upon possibilities, waiting for an observer to choose the stage on which reality will finally perform. But here is the question that cuts like a knife. What is an observer? Is it the human eye with its delicate rods and cones? Is it the mind interpreting signals into meaning? Or is it any interaction at all? Any brush of one particle against another? Any measurement that forces the haze to condense into certainty? The paradox deepens, because if observation changes reality, then reality depends on the act of seeing. Without an observer, what is the universe? A mist of probabilities, a dream without a dreamer. Imagine walking into a vast library. The shelves stretch beyond sight, filled with books, but the pages are blank. Only when you open a book do words appear, letters forming sentences, sentences forming worlds. And each time you close the book, the words dissolve again, retreating into silence. This library is the universe in the quantum view, infinite shelves of unwritten possibilities, and you, the observer, are the one who brings them into existence. To look is to write, to measure is to give birth. But what if the library existed long before you? What if it will continue long after you are gone? Who was the first observer? Who collapsed the first wave? Did the universe wait, patient and silent, for eyes to open and declare it real? Or has it been observing itself all along, every interaction a kind of cosmic gaze? Now, take a moment to let this thought sink in. When you look at the stars, you do not merely see them. In some mysterious way, you are participating in their existence. Your observation becomes part of their reality. The act of looking folds you into the fabric of the cosmos. And this begs another question. If observation shapes reality, does your mind, your consciousness, play a deeper role in the universe than you ever imagined? Are you not merely a passenger in the cosmos, but an active co-creator of it? Close your eyes. Picture yourself standing before a shimmering curtain of light. Behind it lies infinite possibilities, each glowing faintly, each waiting. When you reach out and touch the curtain, one thread brightens, solidifies, becomes real. The others dim and vanish into silence. That is the act of observation. The universe waiting for your touch, your glance, your awareness, to crystallize one possibility out of countless others. But the paradox is heavy. If reality needs an observer to be real, then who observed the first observer? Who collapsed the wave of your own existence, placing you here, in this moment, listening to these words? Perhaps there is no beginning. Perhaps observation is woven into the fabric of existence itself, an endless loop of watching and being watched. Perhaps the universe is its own witness, and we are its eyes, its ears, its beating heart. Science struggles here, for this is not merely mathematics, it is mystery. The equations work, the experiments confirm it, but the meaning escapes like smoke between the fingers. Some say consciousness itself must be fundamental, that without awareness, reality is incomplete. Others argue it is not us who shape the world, but measurement itself, cold and mechanical, that forces the wave to collapse. But maybe both are true. Maybe the act of being alive, of being aware, of being present, is itself a measurement, the cosmos reflecting on itself, collapsing its own haze of possibilities into the living moment. So tonight, as you lie in the quiet of your room, let yourself feel the paradox. Every glance, every breath, every thought is not separate from reality. It is reality shaping itself around you. You are not a stranger wandering through an indifferent cosmos. You are the observer, the participant, the dreamer, and the dream. And perhaps, just perhaps, when you close your eyes, the universe does not fade into silence. Perhaps it continues in countless ways, waiting for your gaze to return, waiting for your consciousness to stir it awake again. The observer's paradox is not a riddle to be solved. It is a reminder that reality is not fixed, not absolute, not separate. It is fluid, alive, entangled with your awareness, and you, small, fragile human, are far greater than you know. What does it mean for something to happen? We are used to the simplicity of events. A coin flips, it lands either heads or tails. A door opens, or it stays shut. Rain falls, or it does not. Our minds crave certainty, beginnings and endings, causes and effects. Yet beneath this comfort lies the quantum realm, where certainty dissolves into mist, and possibility is not an option but the very ground of existence. At its heart lies the wave function, a fragile equation, a shimmering tapestry of all that might be. A particle does not exist in one place or one state. It exists in a spread of possibilities, here and there, spinning left and spinning right, alive and dead, like Schrödinger's cursed cat. The universe is not one story, but every story branching in silence, until something forces a choice, and this forcing is called the collapse. Imagine a vast concert hall, silent and dark. Countless musicians sit with their instruments poised. Violins, flutes, drums, cellos, all ready, but none yet playing. The air is pregnant with potential music, infinite symphonies lingering just beyond sound. Then the conductor lifts his hand, and in an instant, one arrangement begins. The silence shatters, and one melody takes form, while the infinite others vanish into nothing. This is what happens when the wave collapses. All the possible states fall away, leaving behind only one. The universe chooses a note, and the symphony begins. But here's the unsettling truth. The collapse doesn't happen on its own. It waits for an observer, or a measurement, or an interaction. Without it, the particle remains a haze, a probability cloud. With it, the haze becomes something real. Reality, it seems, does not exist until it is forced to decide. Pause here and think. How much of your life do you believe to be solid, certain, undeniable? The ground beneath your feet, the sky above your head, the ticking of the clock on your wall, and yet at the deepest level, all of it rests on the collapse of possibility. A collapse triggered by observation, by measurement, by something choosing among the infinite paths. You think of yourself as walking through a fixed world, but in truth, you walk through a dream of probabilities, crystallized moment by moment. You are not living inside a solid universe. You are living inside a continuous collapse, a series of decisions being made by the fabric of reality itself. Now, imagine yourself standing at the edge of a forest trail at twilight. The path splits into 1,000 smaller trails, each twisting into the distance. You cannot walk them all. You must step onto one, and as you do, the others fade away. They are gone, as if they never existed. But in the quantum world, the paths do not simply vanish. They remain, hovering in silence, mathematical ghosts haunting the edges of reality. They whisper, reminding you that the path you walk was only one among countless others. And though you cannot touch the others, they are part of the story that might have been. This raises questions that shake the soul. Are the possibilities that collapse truly gone? Or do they continue somewhere else, in some hidden dimension, in some parallel world where the coin landed differently, where the cat lived instead of died, where you made another choice? Some interpretations say yes, every possibility lives, branching into infinite universes. Others say no, the collapse is final, the unreal erased forever. Either way, the truth is humbling. What you see as reality is only one note played out of an infinite score. Every moment you live inside a choice, a narrowing, a single thread pulled from an infinite weave. The collapse of possibility is not just science, it is metaphor. It is a mirror held up to your own existence. Think of the choices you make, the people you meet, the roads you walk, the words you speak. Each one collapses a wave of possibility into a single reality. Each one discards countless lives you might have lived. The you that became a painter, the you that moved to another country, the you that said yes instead of no, no instead of yes. Are those lives gone? Or do they shimmer somewhere, in some unseen branch of the cosmos, still unfolding without you? Close your eyes and imagine your body dissolving into a cloud of glowing lights. Each light is a possibility, a life you might have lived, a choice you might have made. The lights swirl and shimmer, countless and infinite. And then, suddenly, one light grows brighter, becomes solid, becomes you. The others dim, but they do not vanish. They linger, like stars hidden by daylight, waiting for another night to reveal them. That is the quantum truth. Every moment is a collapse. Every breath is a narrowing. Every instant is a universe choosing itself. Science struggles with this. Some physicists insist the collapse is just a trick of language, a way of describing what we cannot fully see. Others embrace it as the central mystery of existence. Reality is not fixed, but alive, waiting for us to look, waiting for us to decide. And maybe that is the most poetic truth of all. The universe is not a book already written. It is a story being told, one observation at a time. And you, your gaze, your choices, your very consciousness, are part of the storytelling. So the next time you flip a coin, watch it spin through the air. For a moment before it lands, it is not heads or tails. It is both, it is all, it is possibility itself. And when it lands, when it collapses into one truth, you will feel the quiet shiver of the quantum world. A reminder that reality is fragile, mutable, a decision made in the silence between probabilities. The collapse of possibility is not just about particles, it is about you. You are the collapse. You are the choice. You are the wave, crystallized into this fleeting, luminous now. What does it mean to exist in more than one state at once? In our ordinary world, the question feels absurd. A candle is either lit or extinguished. A door is either open or closed. You are either awake or asleep. Yet in the quantum realm, these neat categories blur, and a deeper truth emerges, the truth of superposition. Superposition is not simply a particle hovering between two states. It is a particle embracing all states simultaneously. A coin spinning endlessly in mid-air, refusing to fall, carrying within it the possibility of heads, the possibility of tails, and every fraction in between. It is not indecision. It is not confusion. It is fullness, the totality of what could be, coexisting in silence. Picture yourself standing in a meadow at dawn. The sun has not yet risen, but the first glow paints the horizon. In this strange twilight, the world is neither night nor day. The grass glimmers with dew. The sky holds both stars and the faint promise of blue. You are not in darkness and you are not in light. You are in both. This is the feeling of superposition, existing in a threshold where opposites dissolve into unity. At the quantum level, an electron does not decide where to be. It spreads, inhabiting every possible orbit around the nucleus. A photon does not decide whether to pass through one slit or the other in an experiment. It passes through both, interfering with itself, weaving a pattern of light and dark as though it were two beings, two possibilities, folded into one. The world is not binary. It is infinite, and superposition whispers that truth. But here's the haunting part. Superposition lasts only until it is observed. When we look, when we measure, when we force the question, the wave collapses and the particle chooses. It becomes one state, and the others fade into silence. In this way, observation is like asking the meadow at dawn, "Are you night or day?" And the meadow reluctantly chooses one. But before you asked, it was both. It was everything. Now imagine this possibility applied not only to particles, but to lives. What if you are not just the person sitting here listening to these words? What if you are countless selves, hovering in superposition, waiting to collapse into one? The self who speaks, the self who remains silent, the self who turns left, and the self who turns right. Each moment, each choice, a collapse from superposition into reality. Does that mean you are less than you believe? Only one strand out of many? Or does it mean you are more infinite, expansive, carrying within you the whole field of possibilities? Close your eyes and imagine a glowing sphere floating before you. Within it, countless shimmering images swirl. You walking through a forest, you standing on a mountain, you sitting in silence, you laughing with friends, you staring into the night sky. All versions of you, all possible lives, hovering in superposition. The sphere hums with potential, radiant with the fullness of being. Then you reach out, and with a single touch, one image sharpens, becomes real. That is the collapse. That is the narrowing. But the other lives do not vanish entirely. They linger in the hum, in the silence, in the possibility of what might yet be. In physics, superposition defies our logic. How can something be in many places at once? How can one particle interfere with itself, as though it were both traveler and shadow? And yet experiment after experiment confirms it. Fire a single photon at two slits, and it will act as if it passed through both, creating a wave pattern. Only when you look does it choose. Only when you demand certainty does it surrender its infinity. So perhaps the lesson is not that superposition is strange, but that our need for certainty is limited. The universe is richer than our categories. It does not fit into boxes of this or that. It is not bound by yes or no. It lives in the liminal, in the both and, in the fullness beyond our perception. There is a quiet wisdom here. In your own life, how often do you demand clarity? How often do you crave certainty, pushing away ambiguity, forcing choices before their time? Yet perhaps, like the particle, you are most expansive when you linger in superposition, when you allow yourself to be many things, many possibilities at once. You are not just strong or weak, you are both. Not just fearful or brave, you are both. Not just lost or found, you are both. Superposition is not indecision, it is wholeness. And in that wholeness lies a strange kind of peace. Science often seeks to collapse, to measure, to pin down the truth. But maybe there is value in not collapsing too quickly. In letting the wave remain a wave, the possibility remain open. In lingering at dawn, in the meadow between night and day, and knowing that both are true. Superposition reminds us that the universe is not as simple as we imagine. It is not this or that. It is this and that. And you too are not one self, one story, one reality. You are a wave of possibilities, a field of potential, a shimmering cloud of what could be. So breathe deeply. Let yourself feel the vastness inside you. You are not just the life you have lived. You are the lives you might have lived, folded into the silence of superposition. You are the coin still spinning, the photon still splitting, the meadow at dawn still shimmering between day and night. And in that shimmering lies the truth. You are more than one, more than here, more than now. You are possibility itself, waiting to collapse into the luminous moment of being. Have you ever stood at the shore of an ocean at night, when the horizon dissolves into blackness, and the waves rise and fall like the breathing of something greater than yourself? That vastness, endless and unknowable, is the closest metaphor we have for the quantum world. Because when we strip away the solid walls of certainty, when we let go of the illusion that reality is rigid, what we find beneath it all is an ocean, a sea of probabilities, flickering possibilities, currents that move in ways our logic can barely comprehend. Classical reality, the one we walk through each day, feels like dry land, firm, predictable, ruled by laws that can be measured and trusted. A ball rolls, it slows, it stops. The sun rises, the sun sets. But beneath that solid ground lies a hidden ocean, restless and wild. In this ocean, a particle is not here or there. It is everywhere at once, like a wave spread thin across the shoreline. Only when we look at it, only when we dip our nets into the water, does it decide where to be, collapsing into form, as if caught in the act. This is the quantum ocean, an ocean that never rests, a place where certainty dissolves into shimmering mist. And what is most haunting about this ocean is not only its unpredictability, it is that we are made of it. You, me, the stars overhead, the breath in your lungs, every atom in your body has swum in that sea. Beneath the skin, beneath the bone, beneath the very molecules, we are patterns of probability, rising and falling like waves. We are not the land we think we stand on. We are currents, eddies, whirlpools in the great quantum sea. Pause here. Let your mind drift. Imagine your body not as a fixed form, but as a shimmering constellation of possibilities. Every thought you have, every decision you make, collapses one wave into form, while countless others ripple outward, unrealized, but never fully gone. In the ocean of quantum reality, every choice you take is both made and unmade, like paths branching under the surface, unseen but infinite. Now, consider this. The ocean has no edges. It stretches beyond galaxies, beyond space, beyond time. Its waters lap against the shores of every star, every black hole, every dream you have ever dreamed. The quantum sea is not limited to you or me. It is the underlying current of existence itself. To stand at the edge of it is to realize that certainty is a fragile raft floating on infinite depths. But what if we dive deeper? What if we let go of the illusion that our world is fixed? Imagine yourself stepping off the shore, wading into the water. At first, it is cool against your skin. Then the waves pull you in, deeper, deeper, until the ground is gone. You are surrounded now by infinite ripples, possibilities glimmering like fish darting just out of sight. Every motion you make sends ripples outward, reshaping the water, shifting the probabilities. You are not a visitor here. You are part of the ocean itself. And suddenly, it hits you. This is what the quantum world whispers to us, that the solid ground of certainty is an illusion, that underneath everything we cling to is a sea of potential, waiting for our observation, our consciousness, to give it form. We are not separate from the ocean. We are waves rising and falling within it. Some thinkers suggest that consciousness itself is a kind of swimmer in this sea, choosing which ripples become real, collapsing the waves into the shoreline of the present moment. If this is true, then perhaps your mind is not just a receiver of reality, but a co-creator of it. Each thought, each choice, shaping the waters in ways you cannot see, and that raises a haunting question. How many worlds have been lost in the depths? Every unspoken word, every unlived life, every dream that slipped away, could they still ripple in the ocean? Shadows of possibilities drifting just beyond our reach. When you close your eyes tonight and the silence of sleep rises around you, remember this. The quantum ocean is always there, beneath certainty, flowing, infinite. And though we cling to the land of what is known, the truth is we are already in the water. We are always swimming, always shaping, always being shaped by the unseen tides. The ocean beneath certainty is not something to fear. It is something to surrender to, for in its endless depths lies the beauty of existence, the possibility that reality is not rigid but fluid, not final but unfolding, not fixed but forever alive. So next time you stand at the shore, staring into the horizon where the sea meets the stars, imagine that beneath your feet lies not just sand, but the very waves of quantum being. And with every breath, every heartbeat, every thought, you are part of that ocean's eternal dance. What if reality itself is not what it seems? What if everything you see, touch, and believe is only a thin veil stretched across something deeper, stranger, ungraspable? Imagine standing in a theater, the curtain heavy before you. The stage is hidden, yet you know a performance waits behind. The curtain sways, shadows flicker, and though you cannot see the play, you feel its presence. That curtain is our perception. Beyond it lies the quantum realm, where the rules we trust dissolve into mystery. The veil is subtle. It tricks us into believing the world is solid, stable, and clear. A chair feels firm beneath you. A table seems fixed in its place. The stars appear eternal above. Yet beneath that veil, at the smallest scales, these objects are not solid things. They are clouds of probability, buzzing with restless energy, shifting between being and not being. The chair you sit on is more emptiness than matter. The table is a blur of particles dancing in silence. The star overhead may already be gone, its light only now reaching you, an echo of a fire long extinguished. What then is real, the thing itself, or the illusion painted upon the surface of perception? Some scientists argue that reality is not built from things at all, but from information, bits of quantum code humming at the foundation of existence. What you see, what you feel, may be nothing more than the rendering of a cosmic program, the universe calculating itself into being moment by moment. If so, the veil of perception is not just a barrier, it is a projection, a shadow cast upon the wall of your mind. But here's the unsettling thought. If the veil is an illusion, why does it feel so real? Why does the chair hold your weight? Why does the ground not give way beneath you? Perhaps because the illusion is consistent, stitched together with perfect precision. Like a dream that makes sense until you wake, reality holds together only because we do not pierce the veil too deeply. Now picture yourself standing in a dimly lit room with a mirror. You stare at your reflection and know it is only light bouncing back at you, a trick of angles and surfaces. Yet in that moment, it feels as if you are looking at you. The veil of reality works the same way. It is a reflection, not the thing itself. The quantum world hints that the veil is thin, that behind the stable image of life lies chaos, possibility, infinite branching paths. When we measure, we collapse the wave. When we look, the world sharpens into focus. Without observation, perhaps, the world is nothing more than a shimmering fog waiting to be called into form. Philosophers and mystics have whispered this truth for centuries, that life is dreamlike, that the world is a stage and we are actors forgetting the roles we play. that what we call reality may be no more solid than a thought passing through the mind of something greater. Science, in its pursuit of precision, has now arrived at a similar doorstep. The quantum veil confirms what poets always suspected. Certainty is an illusion, and yet, maybe the illusion is necessary. Imagine living without it, every moment aware that the floor beneath your feet is mostly empty, that your body is a cloud of probabilities, that nothing is ever fully real until you look at it. Could we live with such a truth? Or do we need the veil, gentle and comforting, to shield us from the chaos beneath? But here's another way to see it. Perhaps the veil is not deception, but mercy. It allows us to live within a story, to walk across solid ground, to love, to dream, to build. The illusion does not deny the truth. It gives us a way to inhabit it. The veil is not the enemy. It is the bridge. Think of it like this. The sky is blue, yet you know it is not truly so. The air scatters light, bending it into the hue you see. The truth is different, but the beauty of the illusion is undeniable. So it is with reality. The veil shows us not what is, but what we can bear. And so the question becomes, do we dare to look behind it? Do we pull aside the curtain, step through the mirror, dive into the quantum fog? Or do we stay here, content with the play as it is performed before us? Perhaps the answer is both. We need the veil to live, but we need glimpses behind it to understand. Each time we peer into the quantum realm, we feel the strangeness ripple through us. Each time we brush against its mystery, we awaken to the truth that life is not what it seems. And in that realization, we are reminded of something profound, that the illusion itself is a gift. That within the veil lies not deception, but wonder. So the next time you touch the surface of a table, or look at the stars, or gaze into your own reflection, remember, what you see is not the whole story. The veil is there, shimmering, fragile, beautiful. Behind it, the quantum realm waits, infinite and strange, whispering that reality is not a wall, but a window. Not an end, but a beginning. Not a certainty, but a mystery. And perhaps, in the end, the veil is not meant to be torn away. It is meant to be appreciated. For without illusion, could there ever be awe? Imagine for a moment that the universe is not a machine of gears and cogs, not a rigid clockwork unfolding with cold precision, but a tapestry, a living, breathing fabric stretched across infinity. Each thread is not matter as we know it, not even energy, but something smaller, stranger, quantum threads, invisible to the naked eye, weaving through dimensions we cannot perceive. Close your eyes and try to picture it. You are not standing on solid ground, but on a woven surface, endless patterns stretching in all directions. Every step you take causes the threads to shimmer, ripple, and shift. Each breath sends vibrations across the loom of existence, tugging on fibers you cannot see. And yet the tapestry holds you, supports you, enfolds you in its hidden design. This is what the quantum realm suggests. That reality itself is not built from blocks, but from interwoven strands of possibility. The solidity of the world is nothing more than the tightness of the weave, threads pulled close enough to appear whole. But look closer, closer than the eye, closer than the microscope, closer than the deepest equations can reach, and you will see the gaps. Tiny spaces where the threads do not touch, where the fabric is more emptiness than fiber. And yet, from this emptiness, all things emerge. The tapestry is alive with patterns. When particles entangle, it is as if two threads are woven together, their colors merging, their destinies bound. When waves collapse, it is the fabric folding upon itself, choosing one shape over another. Every star in the sky, every leaf trembling in the wind, every thought drifting through your mind. Each one is a pattern woven from the same infinite loom. But the most haunting part of this vision is not that everything is woven together. It is that you too are part of the tapestry. Your body, your mind, Your very sense of self is a cluster of threads woven tight enough to give the illusion of individuality. Yet pull back, step away, and you see that your threads are not separate at all. They weave into others, blending into families, into communities, into the planet itself. The Earth is not apart from you. It is the fabric that holds your threads. And beyond the Earth, the stars. Beyond the stars, the galaxies. Beyond the galaxies, the infinite night. All of it connected. All of it one cloth. If this tapestry is real, then nothing is truly isolated. Every action you take sends vibrations across the weave, touching threads you may never see. A thought whispered in your heart might ripple outward, brushing against a star a billion light years away. A choice you make here might echo across dimensions, shaping patterns you cannot begin to imagine. And maybe, just maybe, that is why we feel the tug of destiny, the pull of intuition, the ache of longing. Perhaps it is the tapestry itself, the hidden fabric of existence, pulling at our threads, guiding us toward patterns already waiting to unfold. Think of music for a moment. A single note on a violin is beautiful, but when combined with others, it creates harmony. Each note is a thread, weaving together to form a song. Life, too, may be like this. We are not solo notes ringing in isolation. We are strands in a cosmic symphony, our vibrations blending with countless others to create the great music of existence. But what if the tapestry is unfinished? What if it is still being woven? Every choice, every chance encounter, every star igniting or collapsing into darkness. Each one adds a new stitch, a new pattern, a new shimmer in the fabric. The loom of reality is never still. It is weaving, always weaving, and we are both the threads and the weavers. There is beauty in this idea, that nothing is wasted. Even the smallest action, a smile given to a stranger, a kindness whispered in passing, ripples through the tapestry, leaving marks that may last forever, that our lives, no matter how fleeting, are part of something vast and eternal. And yet, there is mystery too. For if the tapestry is infinite, then what lies beyond its edges? Or does it even have edges at all? Perhaps it folds back upon itself, a fabric with no beginning and no end. Perhaps the threads are woven not only across space, but across time. What if your future self and your past self are already stitched into the same design, existing side by side in patterns you cannot yet see? This is the quantum tapestry. Fragile and strong, empty and full, illusion and truth. It reminds us that life is not linear, but woven. That meaning is not found in isolation, but in connection. That reality is not solid, but alive with hidden threads binding us to one another, to the cosmos, to the infinite. So tonight, when you close your eyes and drift into sleep, imagine yourself as a thread in this great cloth. Feel the gentle pull of the weave around you. Know that your story, your existence, is part of a greater pattern, one that is still unfolding, one that is forever unfinished, one that is infinite in its beauty. And when you wake, carry this truth. You are not alone. You are never alone. You are always woven, always connected, always part of the tapestry that stretches beyond perception into the very heart of the quantum realm. What if the universe speaks, a language we cannot yet fully understand? Not words, not symbols, not even the mathematics we so proudly write across blackboards, but a language written in shadows and light, a whisper hidden in patterns, a truth encoded in the flicker of particles as they appear and vanish, rise and fall, like breaths of a cosmos alive. Imagine yourself standing in a cave, the walls flickering with torchlight. Shadows dance across the stone, stretching, twisting, breaking apart. The shapes seem alive, and for a moment you are fooled into believing they are the world itself. But you know, deep down, they are only projections, ghosts of a greater truth cast from somewhere beyond your sight. This is the quantum realm. The world we see is the shadow on the wall. The real story is hidden, written in the interplay of light and darkness, in the invisible rules that govern the smallest scales of existence. What we call reality is but a translation, a simplified version of a far stranger, deeper script. Particles, at their core, are not solid things. They are fluctuations, shadows of possibility flickering into form. One moment they are here, the next they are gone, as if reality itself breathes them in and out. Light, too, is not what it seems. Sometimes a wave, sometimes a particle, always shifting, always beyond the categories we try to place it in. It does not choose one form until we look, until we listen, until we force it into the grammar of our perception. Perhaps this is the universe's way of speaking to us, through paradox, through riddles, through contradictions that unsettle our sense of certainty. The quantum world does not give answers easily. It speaks in questions, in probabilities, in hints and glimpses that vanish when held too tightly. But maybe we already know this language, though we have forgotten it. Think of music. A single note is nothing by itself, but when notes come together, patterns form, emotions rise, meaning is born. Music is not a straight line of sound. It is the interplay of silence and tone, of presence and absence, of shadow and light. The quantum realm works the same way. It is not the particles themselves, but the patterns they weave, the dance between what is seen and unseen that tells the story of reality. Now think of dreams. In a dream, you walk through landscapes that shift with no warning, speak to faces that blur into strangers, live lives that collapse the moment you wake. And yet, while dreaming, it feels real. Perhaps this, too, is the quantum language at work, the blending of what is and what might be, the weaving of probabilities into a temporary tapestry of experience. If we learn to listen, we might realize the universe has always been whispering to us, in the way light scatters through the leaves of a tree, in the way a drop of water shatters into infinite reflections, in the way silence itself feels alive, vibrating with possibility. Each shadow, each flicker, each shifting wave is a word in the quantum script. The haunting thought is this: maybe reality is not made for us to master. Maybe it is made for us to wonder at. The language of shadows and light is not one we can pin down, but one we must learn to feel, to stand at the edge of the unknown and let it speak through awe, through humility, through the strange, fragile beauty of not knowing. Imagine, for a moment, that you could step outside perception, that you could peel back the veil of certainty and watch reality write itself in real time. You would not see chairs or stars or faces. You would see flickers, probabilities collapsing, waves trembling into being. You would see shadows stretching, light bending, threads weaving into the illusion we call now. And in that vision, perhaps, you would understand the greatest truth, that reality is not fixed, not final, not singular. It is alive. It is a story being told in a language older than time itself. And here is the secret. That language is not foreign to you. You are made of it. Your body, your thoughts, your very breath. They are shadows and light. You are the story speaking itself. You are not just listening to the universe. You are the sentence, the word, the pause between words. You are the silence and the sound. So tonight, as you close your eyes, imagine yourself dissolving into that language. Not as an outsider trying to translate it, but as part of its grammar, part of its poetry. You are the flicker and the flame, the wave and the particle, the shadow and the light. And in that realization there is peace. For to belong to the language of the cosmos is to know that you are never apart from it. You are always being spoken, always part of the great, unending story. There comes a moment, after wandering deep enough into the strange forest of the quantum realm, when something inside you shifts. At first, it is bewildering. Particles that refuse to be pinned down, waves that vanish when you try to measure them, entanglements that stretch beyond the stars. You feel lost, as if the very ground beneath your understanding has dissolved. But then, slowly, quietly, you begin to sense something else. Not clarity, not certainty, but a kind of belonging. A strange peace, born not from answers, but from questions. What if this is the true gift of the quantum world? Not explanation, but intimacy. Not control, but wonder. Not the destruction of mystery, but the realization that mystery itself is home. We are taught from the moment we open our eyes to crave certainty, to label the world, to name, to measure, to lock into place. A tree is a tree, a stone is a stone. A life is a straight line from birth to death. But the quantum whispers undo this comfort. They tell us that beneath the labels, beneath the rigid frames, reality is a river. It is flowing, shifting, changing, always alive. To stand in that current is to feel both small and infinite at once. And so, when mystery becomes home, you no longer fight it. You no longer demand that the world makes sense in the language of straight lines. Instead, you lean into the curves, the spirals, the waves. You let yourself be carried by uncertainty, trusting that the river knows where it flows. Picture yourself sitting at the edge of a still lake at night. The moon hovers above, its reflection trembling in the water. If you try to grab the reflection, it shatters into ripples, breaking apart in your hands. But if you simply watch, if you simply breathe, the beauty of it holds you. This is what it means to let mystery be home. Not to grasp, but to witness. Not to demand, but to dwell. The quantum realm, strange as it is, offers a mirror for the human soul. Just as particles flicker between possibilities, so too do we flicker between selves. Who you are now is not who you were yesterday, nor who you will be tomorrow. You are a wave of becoming, collapsing into moments that pass as quickly as they arrive. Your identity is not a fixed stone, but a constellation shifting in the night. And perhaps that is not frightening, but liberating. For it means you are not bound, you are unfolding. When mystery becomes home, fear softens. Death itself begins to lose its sting. For if reality is not final, if particles are never fully gone but transformed, then perhaps nothing truly ends. Perhaps we are not extinguished but rewoven, our threads stitched into new patterns on the infinite loom. And in this thought, there is a tenderness. The people you have loved and lost, the dreams you thought had vanished, they may not be gone at all. They may be waiting, folded into the quantum sea, part of the same ocean that cradles you even now. Mystery holds them, mystery holds you. So let us return to the beginning, to the questions that stirred this journey. What is real? What is certain? What is beyond our perception? Perhaps the answers do not matter as much as we think. Perhaps the point is not to solve the mystery, but to learn to live within it, to let it breathe around us, to let it teach us humility or patience. When you look at the night sky and feel small, remember, you are woven into its fabric. When you feel lost, remember, uncertainty is not exile, it is invitation. And when the mystery overwhelms you, remember, you are already home within it. Because maybe this is the final truth. The universe does not ask us to conquer it. It does not ask us to decode every law, to strip away every secret. It asks only that we witness, that we wonder, that we allow ourselves to belong. The quantum world is not a riddle to be solved. It is a song to be heard, a poem to be lived, a mystery to be cherished. And in that moment, when you stop fighting, when you let mystery cradle you, you realize something profound. The quantum realm is not beyond you, it is you. It has always been you. And to walk in its strangeness is not to be lost, but to finally come home. They say light is the oldest storyteller in the universe. It carries the memory of the stars, the whispered histories of galaxies billions of years away, and the soft glow of our own fragile world. Yet light, this constant companion of our eyes and our days, has a secret, a paradox wrapped in mystery, stitched into the very fabric of reality. Light is not one thing but two. It is both wave and particle. This duality is not merely a scientific curiosity, it is a doorway into the surreal. Imagine a ripple spreading across a pond, smooth, continuous, predictable. Now imagine tiny pebbles bouncing across the surface, sharp, discrete, individual. Light dares to be both at once. When we test it in one way, it stretches itself into waves, crest after crest, an ocean of possibilities. When we test it another way, it condenses into particles, little packets called photons, as if reality itself has splintered into beads of energy. But here is the unsettling truth. Light seems to know when it is being watched. The famous double-slit experiment shows us this eerie game. Fire photons through two narrow openings, and they paint a wave-like pattern, as though each photon split itself into many and interfered with itself. But place a detector to watch, which slit the photon passes through, and the wave collapses into particles, lined up like obedient soldiers. Observation changes reality. Measurement reshapes the story. Pause here and think. What does it mean that reality bends itself around our gaze? Is the universe waiting for us to look at it before deciding what form to take? Or are we intruders in a cosmic dance, disturbing a rhythm that flows beyond our comprehension? The quantum realm is full of such paradoxes, but this one feels personal. It hints that consciousness, awareness, the very act of paying attention, is not separate from reality, but woven into it. If light changes under our watch, are we not entangled with it? Are we not co-authors of the script of existence? Let us go deeper. Light as a wave explains its gentleness. The way it bends around corners, the way it diffracts into colors, red to violet, spreading like a rainbow across raindrops. Light as a particle explains its precision. The way it knocks electrons from metals, the way it strikes like bullets of energy, powering solar cells and driving the chemistry of life. Without its duality, stars would not burn, photosynthesis would not unfold, and we would not see the world at all. Yet the strangest beauty lies not in choosing one form over the other, but in accepting the contradiction. The quantum world thrives in contradiction. A photon can exist in superposition, traveling multiple paths at once, being everywhere and nowhere until forced to reveal itself. The universe is not shy about paradox. It wears paradox as its native language. Imagine standing at the edge of the ocean at night. Moonlight shimmers across the waves. Are you watching particles rain down from the heavens? Or are you seeing the graceful dance of waves rippling through space? The answer, baffling and wondrous, is both. The moonlight is particles and waves, reality and dream, certainty and possibility. And perhaps, as you stand in that glow, you begin to feel the resonance of the deeper truth, that you too might not be one thing. You too might exist as a wave of possibilities, collapsing into one version of yourself, only when life forces you to choose. In the quiet between thoughts, ask yourself, what is light teaching us? That the universe is fluid, playful, unwilling to be captured by our narrow definitions. That reality is not a rigid stage but a shifting sea. That perception itself is part of the equation. The dual nature of light is not just physics, it is philosophy, poetry, and the haunting reminder that we live in a cosmos beyond our perception, where everything we think we know is just the shadow of a deeper, stranger truth, and so we follow the photon, chasing its shimmer, wondering what else in this universe wears two faces, waiting for us to look before it decides which one to reveal. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this: a coin tossed into the air, spinning endlessly, never landing, never collapsing into heads or tails. Suspended in its dance, it is both. It is neither. It is possibility made manifest. This is the strange heart of quantum superposition, the idea that something can exist in multiple states at once, a ghostly overlap of realities until it is observed. Electrons, the restless wanderers of atoms, are masters of this art. They do not march along tidy paths like planets circling a sun. Instead, they hover in clouds of probability, existing here, there, and everywhere simultaneously. It is as if reality sketches a million versions of them in faint pencil lines, and only when we look does it choose one to ink in. But what does it mean to exist in many states at once? It defies the logic of our waking world. A chair cannot be both broken and unbroken. A song cannot be both sung and unsung. Yet in the quantum theatre, particles are not bound by such limits. They dance in layered symphonies of being, wave and particle, here and there, spinning up and spinning down, all at once. Think of Schrödinger's famous cat, both alive and dead in its sealed box, its fate entangled with the atomic decay it waits upon. The thought experiment is absurd, unsettling, even cruel, but it forces us to face the question, is the universe itself undecided until someone peeks inside? Superposition is not merely a riddle for philosophers, it is the foundation of modern possibility. Quantum computers, machines that dream in parallel, harness this principle. Unlike ordinary computers that flip switches to 0 or 1, quantum bits rest in a shimmering in-between, holding both 0 and 1 and every combination in between. They calculate not line by line, but in vast webs of overlapping states, as though they peer into 1,000 futures at once before choosing the best path forward. But beyond the technology, there is a haunting intimacy in the idea of superposition. It whispers something about us, about the lives we live, the choices we make, the people we might have been. Are we not, in some sense, superpositions of our possible selves? You, listening now, are both the person you are and the person you might have been, had you taken that other path, made that other choice, spoken that other word. The multitudes of your being echo faintly like quantum states, and life itself is the observer, collapsing you into one version of yourself. Moment by moment, And if this is so, what becomes of the other possibilities? Do they dissolve into nothing? Or do they remain ghostly echoes in a universe vast enough to hold them all? Some believe in the many worlds interpretation, where each choice spawns a new reality. In one you stand here, in another you walk away, in yet another you never existed at all. The quantum world seems to suggest that nothing is wasted, that every possibility blooms somewhere beyond our perception. Picture a raindrop trembling on the edge of a leaf. It is poised to fall. One breeze might send it left, another might let it cling. In the realm of superposition, it falls both ways, clings and lets go, divides into 1,000 stories, each one real. Only when we step into the scene do we force the story to choose. Perhaps this is why the quantum realm feels so hauntingly familiar. It mirrors the uncertainty of our hearts, the way we exist in between, undecided, waiting for the gaze of time to push us one way or another. It reminds us that being many things at once is not confusion, it is potential. So let us not fear superposition, but listen to it. It tells us that the universe is not a closed box, but a canvas of branching stories. It tells us that we too are shimmering probabilities, more than the sum of our choices, more than the roles we play. Superposition is not just physics, it is a mirror. And when we gaze into it, perhaps we glimpse not only the quantum world, but also the boundless ghost of ourselves, infinite, unfinished, waiting to be observed. Imagine two particles, born together in the same cosmic cradle, then pulled apart by unimaginable distances, miles, planets, galaxies, even the edges of the known universe itself. And yet, despite their separation, they remain connected, as if tied by an invisible thread, whispering to one another across the vast silence of space. This is quantum entanglement, a phenomenon so strange that Einstein himself once called it spooky action at a distance. It defies common sense. Measure one particle's state, and instantly, without delay, without crossing the gap, the other reveals a complementary state. Spin up here, spin down there, as though reality itself skipped the courier and leapt straight into unity. The laws of space and time, the limits of speed and distance, seem to bow before entanglement, yielding to a deeper law of connection. But what does this mean? Is there some hidden communication faster than light threading the cosmos together? Or is it that the particles were never separate to begin with? That their destinies are written in the same sentence, part of the same indivisible whole? The poetry of entanglement whispers something more, that separateness is an illusion, that underneath the appearances of distance and division, reality is woven as one tapestry. The particles are not talking to each other across space. They are the same cloth, tugged in different corners. Think of your breath. The air you exhale disperses, drifts, mingles with the sky. Weeks later, someone across the planet may breathe a molecule you once carried within your lungs. Are you not entangled invisibly with them? Or think of music. A single note struck on a violin can cause another string, far away, to tremble in resonance. Entanglement is like this resonance, but on the deepest scale, where the vibration is not sound, but existence itself. Now stretch this thought into the human heart. What if our relationships, our loves, our memories are forms of entanglement? What if when you feel the ache of someone far away, when you dream of them without reason, it is because threads of reality tie you together, quantum cords running beneath the skin of the world? The scientists measure entanglement in the language of mathematics, in states and correlations, in experiments with photons and atoms. Yet what they uncover feels like myth rediscovered, the myth that all things are connected. And unlike myth, this connection is testable, provable, undeniable. Entanglement is not metaphor, it is the deepest fact we know, and still, the mystery grows. If particles are entangled across space, are they also entangled across time? Could the decisions you make today ripple backward, influencing the probabilities of yesterday? Could the universe be a timeless web where past, present, and future are not separate points, but knots tied together by invisible strings? Einstein resisted this. He believed in locality, in the sanity of space-time, in a universe where things here could not instantly affect things there. But the experiments, decades of them, from the delicate alignment of lasers to the cosmic games of starlight, say otherwise. The universe laughs at locality. It leans toward wholeness. It insists on communion. Perhaps this is the secret. Entanglement is not spooky, but sacred. It tells us that the universe is not built of isolated pieces, but of relationships. To exist is to be tied, to resonate, to belong. So, as you lie here listening, drifting, feel this truth. You are entangled. With the stars that forge the atoms of your body, with the earth that cradles you, with every soul whose life has brushed yours. The threads cannot be cut, not by time, not by distance, not by silence. You are woven into the cosmos, and the cosmos into you. And somewhere, perhaps far beyond our perception, two particles still whisper across infinity, reminding us that nothing is ever truly alone. What if knowledge itself had boundaries? Not walls we might eventually climb over, but fundamental horizons etched into the very language of reality. This is the lesson of Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, one of the strangest and most humbling truths of the quantum world. It tells us that we cannot know everything about a particle at once. We may measure its position, where it is in space, or its momentum, how fast and in what direction it is moving, but not both, not perfectly, not simultaneously. The sharper we see one, the blurrier the other becomes, as though reality hides one hand while showing us the other. At first glance, this feels like a flaw in our instruments, a shortcoming of our microscopes and detectors. But it is not. It is a feature of the universe itself, written into its very structure. Particles are not little marbles moving along neat tracks. They are smeared clouds of probability, shifting waves of possibility. To pin them down too tightly is to erase their freedom, and the universe refuses to let us have it all. Think of a candle's flame. Watch it closely, and you see the glow, the shifting dance of fire. But if you try to grasp it, to hold it in your palm, it disappears into smoke and heat. The flame exists as a process, not a thing. So too with particles. They are never objects frozen in perfection, but ripples of becoming, impossible to nail down completely. What does this mean for us? It means that uncertainty is not ignorance, it is truth. It is not a failure of our minds, but the nature of existence. The cosmos itself is stitched together not of certainties, but of limits, ambiguities, and fluid possibilities. And perhaps there is wisdom here, even beyond physics. How often in life do we crave certainty? We want to know what tomorrow holds, what others think of us, whether we are making the right choice. We demand clarity from a world that prefers to remain hazy. Yet maybe, like the quantum particles, our lives cannot be both fully located and fully predictable. Perhaps we are not meant to hold everything in sharp focus at once. The uncertainty principle humbles us. It whispers, you cannot know all things, and you do not need to. To live is to move within probabilities, to embrace the blur, to find peace not in control, but in flow. Imagine a river in moonlight. You step into it, and the water wraps around you, flowing both past and within you. Can you measure each droplet, each current? No, you surrender to the stream. Uncertainty is like this river. It does not rob us of meaning. It invites us into mystery, and in that mystery perhaps lies freedom. If the world were certain, fixed, and final, we would be trapped in inevitability. But uncertainty gives us space to breathe, to choose, to become. It means the future is not already written. It is still shimmering, undecided, waiting for the brushstroke of time. So let the uncertainty principle be not a barrier, but a guide. Accept that some things will always remain beyond reach. Accept that clarity is partial, and that this incompleteness is beautiful. For in the blur, in the unknown, lies the quantum truth. That reality is not a cage of facts, but a sea of wonder. And as you drift deeper into this sea, you may realize what we cannot measure fully, we can still marvel at. What we cannot know entirely, we can still feel. And perhaps that is enough. Picture a mountain, tall and immovable, its roots buried deep in the bones of the earth. To cross to the other side, you must climb, step by step, over its crags and cliffs. This is how the classical world works. Barriers block us, and we must either go around them or scale them with effort. But in the quantum world, particles laugh at such rules. They do not always climb the mountain. Sometimes, impossibly, they pass through it. This is quantum tunneling, one of the strangest feats of the subatomic world. A particle approaches a barrier, a wall of energy, higher than the particle's own strength. By classical reasoning, it should be stopped, bounced back, confined to its side. Yet in the language of quantum mechanics, the particle is not a solid point, but a wave of probability, a a spread of possibility that leaks into the forbidden zone. And sometimes, that wave does not stop at the barrier. It pierces through, reappearing on the other side, as though the wall were never there at all. Imagine a ghost walking through a locked door. Imagine a dream slipping past the edges of sleep into waking life. Quantum tunneling is like this, an echo of impossibility made real. And though it sounds like fantasy, tunneling is not rare. It is happening constantly, invisibly, beneath our perception. Without it, the sun itself would not shine. Deep in its heart, atomic nuclei fuse together to release the light and warmth we depend on. Classically, the energy needed to overcome the repulsion of positively charged protons is too high. Fusion should be impossible, yet tunneling allows them to pass through their mutual barrier, to meet and merge, igniting the star. The sun rises each morning because the universe bends its own rules. Tunneling powers technologies too. Scanning tunneling microscopes let us peer at the positions of individual atoms, tracing surfaces with the touch of electrons that slip through barriers. Quantum tunneling diodes and transistors make modern electronics possible, their tiny switches and pathways relying on this ghostly passage. But beyond the science, tunneling carries a haunting metaphor. It tells us that barriers are not always what they seem. The walls we face in life, the obstacles that feel impossible, may not be absolute. There are ways through that defy expectation, paths that seem closed until we surrender the classical logic of struggle and open ourselves to the quantum possibility of flow. Think of your own life, the dreams you thought were blocked, the doors that seemed locked. How many times have you found yourself, inexplicably, on the other side? Not by sheer force, not by climbing, but by slipping through in ways you could never have planned. Quantum tunneling whispers that the universe itself allows for such passages. That impossibility is not final. That the barriers we see are sometimes only illusions of scale. Perhaps then, tunneling is not just a property of particles, but a philosophy of being. To trust that even when the path looks blocked, the wave of your existence may still carry you through. To understand that life is not only about scaling mountains, but also about dissolving into possibility, letting the improbable become real. The quantum world shows us again and again that reality is porous, that walls are not absolute, that what seems solid may be nothing more than a shadow of probability. And in this truth there is comfort. For if particles can pass through impossibility, then so perhaps can we. When we hear the word vacuum, we imagine emptiness, silent, bare, void of substance, a hollow chamber where nothing exists. Outer space too is often described as a vast emptiness, a cold desert between the stars. But quantum mechanics tells a stranger tale. The vacuum is not empty. It is alive. It is restless. It is seething with invisible storms of creation and destruction. At the quantum scale, nothingness is impossible. Even in the absence of matter, particles flicker into existence, then vanish in the blink of an eye. These are virtual particles, ephemeral, fleeting phantoms that borrow energy from the universe itself, only to repay it instantly. They rise and fall like bubbles in a boiling sea, invisible to us but essential to the structure of reality. Imagine standing at the edge of an ocean at night. To the naked eye, the surface looks still, black as glass. But beneath, waves are rolling, currents are pulling, fish are darting. The vacuum is like this, still only in appearance. In truth, it churns with unseen movement, a frothing sea of potential. And though these quantum fluctuations are tiny, their consequences ripple outward into the cosmos. They shape the forces between particles, alter the energy of atoms, and even push galaxies apart. Dark energy, the mysterious force driving the accelerated expansion of the universe, may be tied to this restless vacuum, the faint hum of its hidden energy stretching space-time itself. Consider this paradox. The very emptiness of space may be the source of its fullness. Stars are scattered in the heavens, galaxies spin, black holes rage, all floating upon the unseen sea of the quantum vacuum. Nothing is not nothing. It is everything in disguise. Perhaps this explains why existence itself emerged. The Big Bang may have sprung from a fluctuation in the vacuum, a moment where the froth of nothingness gave birth to everything. From void to cosmos, from silence to symphony, could creation itself be the ultimate quantum fluctuation? This truth is unsettling, yet strangely comforting. We fear emptiness, we dread the idea of nothingness. But if quantum physics is right, then nothingness does not exist. Even in the deepest silence there is a pulse, Even in the void, there is life unseen, and so the vacuum becomes more than physics. It becomes philosophy. It tells us that absence is never complete, that behind every stillness lies motion, behind every silence, a whisper, behind every emptiness, a secret fullness. Think of your own quiet moments, those nights when you feel alone, surrounded by emptiness. What if, like the vacuum, you are not empty at all, but seething with unseen possibilities? What if every stillness is only the surface, and beneath, entire worlds are stirring, waiting to emerge? The quantum vacuum reminds us that even in the places we call nothing, there is always something, always potential, always life, trembling just beyond our perception. So perhaps we need not fear the void. Perhaps the void is not absence but womb, a place where possibilities gestate, where the universe rehearses its symphonies, where tomorrow waits to be born. If you could shrink yourself down, not to the size of an atom, not even to the size of a proton, but smaller still, deeper, past every layer of matter and energy, what would you find at the foundations of reality? You might expect smoothness, a clean grid of space-time stretching out like a perfect canvas. But the quantum world rarely offers smoothness. Instead, at the smallest conceivable scales, space-time itself may boil and bubble like water on the edge of a furious flame. This is the strange idea of quantum foam, first whispered by physicist John Wheeler. At the Planck scale, the unimaginably tiny realm of 1035 meters, space and time cease to be flat and continuous. Instead, they ripple, twist, fluctuate. Wormholes may open and collapse in the blink of an eye. Miniature black holes may flicker into being and then vanish again. The very geometry of the cosmos, the foundation on which everything rests, becomes turbulent and alive. Imagine walking across a frozen lake in winter. To your eyes, the ice seems smooth, flawless, endless. But lean close enough, press your cheek to the surface, and you see cracks, crystals, imperfections, the restless geometry of frozen water. Zoom in further still, to the molecular level, and the smooth sheet becomes a writhing dance of molecules, never at rest. Quantum foam is like this, but on the scale of reality itself. What appears to us as stable, solid space-time is, in truth, a restless ocean beneath our feet. What does it mean to live on such a foundation? It suggests that the universe is not built upon a steady floor, but upon froth, upon fluctuations that never sleep. Perhaps space-time itself is emergent, not fundamental. Perhaps what we call space is nothing more than a shadow cast by something deeper, stranger, hidden beneath the foam. And here is a haunting thought. If quantum foam seethes beneath everything, then the very constants of reality, the speed of light, the strength of gravity, the flow of time itself, may not be as fixed as they seem. They may tremble at the edges, shimmering with uncertainty, shifting with the tides of this frothing sea. Scientists dream of probing this foam. They design experiments to glimpse its fingerprints, to catch the subtle flicker of space-time's instability in the way light travels across the cosmos. But even if we never see it directly, the idea leaves us with something profound. The realization that what we call reality may not be smooth, but wrinkled, not fixed, but fluid, not calm, but endlessly restless. And perhaps this is not only a scientific truth, but a human one. For beneath the smooth surfaces of our lives, our daily routines, our outward appearances, there is foam as well. Thoughts bubbling, emotions shifting, dreams rising and dissolving. Beneath every calm exterior, a sea of turbulence. Beneath every silence, 1,000 unspoken storms. Quantum foam reminds us that restlessness is not a flaw, but the foundation of creation. It is from turbulence that galaxies are born, from fluctuations that stars ignite, from chaos that order finds its shape. Without foam, there would be no structure, no cosmos, no us. So perhaps when you feel the froth beneath your own life, you can learn not to fear it. Perhaps you can trust that in the bubbling chaos of your inner world lies the very energy of becoming. For if space-time itself is wrinkled, alive, foaming at the edges, then so too are we. And in that foam, the universe is not broken. It is beautiful. What if I told you that the solidity of your desk, the firmness of the floor beneath your feet, the comforting weight of a book in your hand, are all illusions, shadows cast by the quantum stage? When you press your palm against the wall, you believe you are touching matter itself. You feel resistance, density, something that says, I am real, I am solid. But beneath that sensation lies a truth so strange it borders on the mystical. Everything you perceive as solid is, in reality, mostly emptiness. The particles that make up that wall are not tightly pressed bricks, stacked one atop the other. They are vast spaces stitched together by invisible threads of probability, charged fields, and quantum laws. Let's take an atom, the supposed building block of all solidity. Imagine blowing it up until the nucleus is the size of a marble. Where then would its electrons be? Not circling neatly, like moons around a planet, but smeared into ghostly probability clouds, ethereal presences, neither here nor there. And the distance between the nucleus and those clouds, comparable to the distance between that marble and an entire football stadium. In other words, what we call matter is nearly all empty space, with particles like tiny sparks flickering within an immeasurable void. So why does it feel solid? Why does your hand not pass through the table? The answer lies not in matter itself, but in forces. Forces that resist, forces that repel, forces that dance between particles. When your palm presses down, it never truly touches the table. Instead, the negatively charged electrons in your skin meet the negatively charged electrons in the table's surface. Like invisible guardians, they push against each other, refusing to overlap. What you interpret as solidity is the protest of charges refusing union, the electromagnetic refusal that whispers, stop. Think about it. The sensation of touch. The foundation of solidity is an illusion written in the language of resistance. You never touch the table. You never touch anything. Every embrace, every step, every interaction with the so-called physical world is a choreography of repulsion, a delicate equilibrium that tricks your senses into believing in the firmness of things. But let's step even deeper. If you could shrink yourself down into the heart of the atom, if you could traverse that great chasm between nucleus and electron, what would you see? A universe within a universe. Vast nothingness punctuated by rare points of mass and energy. And even those points are not what they appear to be. A proton, a neutron, they are not indivisible. They are swirling storms of quarks, bound together by the strong nuclear force. Go further still, and some theories suggest even quarks are not fundamental, but ripples of vibrating strings, tiny one-dimensional filaments oscillating in ways we cannot yet comprehend. Do you see it? The deeper we go, the less solid the world becomes. The illusion grows clearer. Solidity is not a fact of existence. It is a perception, a survival mechanism crafted by our senses, fine-tuned by evolution to navigate a reality that is far stranger than our ancestors could ever imagine. And here's the paradox. Without this illusion, we could not live. We need the wall to hold us, the floor to carry us, the chair to support us. We need to believe in solidity to move through the world. Yet, when we peel back the layers, when we look with quantum eyes, we find a cosmos that is anything but solid. We find music instead of stone, vibration instead of structure, symphonies of energy instead of bricks of matter. So, the next time your fingers brush against the spine of a book, or you feel the firmness of the earth beneath your feet, remember, you are not touching solidity. You are communing with fields, dancing with charges, balancing on illusions that the universe maintains so you can believe in its stage play. Solidity is not the truth. It is the mask, the dream, the performance. Behind it waits a realm of emptiness, shimmering with infinite potential. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. A single beam of light piercing through a darkened room, dust motes swirling within its path, each particle catching the glow for an instant before dissolving back into shadow. It feels so simple, doesn't it? Light streaming through space, matter basking in its warmth. Yet beneath this everyday image lies a relationship so profound, so endlessly complex, that it reshaped physics itself, the eternal dance of light and matter. Light is not just a traveler across the cosmos. It is the messenger, the sculptor, the weaver of reality. Without light, matter would be mute, silent, invisible, unknowable. Think of the stars scattered across the night sky. Their light is what tells us they exist. A galaxy billions of light years away could collapse in silence. But as long as its final glow reaches us, we are allowed to know it once lived. Without photons, the quantum packets of light, matter would be a shadow hidden in the abyss, blind even to itself. But light is not just a painter, it is also a trickster. For light is both particle and wave, behaving as one or the other depending on how you dare to look at it. This dual nature becomes most mysterious in the famous double-slit experiment. A photon, released into darkness, can act like a wave, spreading out and interfering with itself, creating delicate patterns of light and shadow. Yet the moment you attempt to watch it closely, to pin it down, the photon collapses into the guise of a particle, choosing a single path. It is as though light, in its essence, refuses to be defined, slipping through the categories we build for it. Now bring matter into this cosmic dance. Matter too has its quantum strangeness. Electrons, those building blocks of all atoms, are not simply tiny marbles circling a nucleus. They are waves of probability, spread across space, smeared across potential until observation forces them to decide. And here is where the wonder truly emerges. Light and matter are not strangers passing in the night. They are partners in an endless embrace. Photons can be absorbed by electrons, raising them into new energy levels, like dancers being lifted into the air. Electrons can emit photons in return, releasing sparks of light that ripple across the void. Each interaction is a step in their choreography, an endless feedback loop that writes the music of the universe. Consider photosynthesis, sunlight striking a leaf, photons absorbed by chlorophyll, electrons excited into motion. That simple act fuels the green breath of forests, the lifeblood of our atmosphere, the foundation of nearly all food chains. Here, the dance of light and matter is not an abstract principle. It is the very reason we exist. Without it, Earth would be a barren rock, cold and lifeless. Or think of the stars themselves, those blazing furnaces where light and matter are inseparable. Within their cores, fusion reactions release energy in the form of photons, which then journey outward, bouncing for thousands of years through dense plasma before finally escaping into space. The warmth you feel on your skin from sunlight is a photon that began its journey long before human civilization, long before Earth was shaped into what we now know. It traveled millions of kilometers through the void, simply to kiss your skin for a brief, fleeting second. The dance is not always gentle. At the quantum scale, when light strikes matter with immense energy, the results are transformative. Photons of sufficient energy can tear electrons away from atoms, ionizing them, reshaping their bonds. At even higher energies, light itself can give birth to matter. Collisions of photons birthing pairs of particles and antiparticles, as if the universe itself were reminding us that energy and matter are but two sides of the same eternal coin. Yet for all its mysteries, this dance also shapes perception. Your very ability to see, to navigate the world, is built on the embrace of photons and the matter of your eyes. When light strikes the rods and cones within your retina, it triggers tiny quantum reactions, signals cascading through your nervous system until they bloom into vision. Without this exchange, the world would be invisible, hidden behind the veil of darkness. Every color, every shape, every sunrise you've ever witnessed is nothing more than photons, massless, ageless messengers, colliding with matter and whispering, "Here I am." In the end, the dance of light and matter is the silent rhythm that makes the universe perceivable. Light is not separate from the world. It is the language through which the world introduces itself. And matter, in turn, is not passive. It shapes light, bends it, scatters it, transforms it. Together, they create the stage upon which existence performs. So the next time you stand in sunlight, let your mind drift deeper. Feel the warmth on your skin, the way shadows bend and stretch, the way colors shimmer in the air. Behind that experience lies an endless quantum waltz, photons and particles in eternal motion, weaving the tapestry of everything you know. And in that waltz, you too are a participant, a fleeting note in the music of light and matter. Imagine the stillness of a midnight pond, its surface smooth, unmoving, reflecting the moon in perfect silence. Now imagine leaning closer, only to discover that beneath that calm veneer, the water is alive with ripples, tiny currents, invisible turbulence. That is what the quantum realm is like. Even in its most empty state, it is never still, never truly quiet. Instead, it is a restless sea, forever stirring with fluctuations, as though the void itself cannot resist whispering to itself in an eternal murmur. We call this phenomenon quantum fluctuations. The jittering, ephemeral appearances and disappearances of particles in what we once naively thought of as empty space. The word vacuum might suggest nothingness, a barren stage devoid of actors. But the truth is far stranger. The vacuum is alive. Even in absolute emptiness, pairs of particles and antiparticles flicker into existence, dance briefly, then vanish as though they never were. Like fireflies in the dark, they appear and disappear so quickly that no eye can catch them, but their effects ripple outward, shaping reality in profound ways. This restless fabric is not just a curiosity, it is the very foundation of existence. Consider the Casimir effect. Place two uncharged metal plates close together in what should be a perfect vacuum, and they will mysteriously attract. Why? Because the quantum fluctuations in the surrounding space exert pressure, while between the plates, fewer virtual particles can exist. The plates, caught in this imbalance, are pushed together by the weight of nothingness itself. This isn't just theory, it has been observed, measured, confirmed. Nothingness has a weight, a force, a presence. And what of the universe itself? Many physicists believe that quantum fluctuations in the earliest fractions of a second after the Big Bang seeded the cosmos with structure. Tiny variations in the density of that primordial fabric, born from the jitter of the quantum vacuum, were stretched across the cosmos by inflation. Those microscopic ripples became the scaffolding upon which galaxies formed. In other words, the stars overhead, the clusters of galaxies spanning billions of light years, the very architecture of the universe, all may have sprung from the restless whispers of emptiness. Pause and let that sink in. Every galaxy you've ever seen, every world, every life, every thought, may owe its existence to the trembling of nothing. What we call emptiness is the most fertile field of all, a womb that gives rise to everything. But quantum fluctuations also carry a darker implication. They suggest that the universe is unstable at its very roots, that what we perceive as permanent is built atop a seething, restless ground. Even the constants of nature may not be as constant as we assume, but swayed by fluctuations we cannot yet predict. Our universe is not a stone fortress. It is a shimmering mirage, held together by a balance that could, in principle, unravel. And yet, there is beauty in this uncertainty. Without fluctuations, there would be no change, no creation, no life. Imagine if the cosmos were perfectly still, perfectly balanced, without the tremor of the quantum vacuum. It would be sterile, frozen, a stage with no play. It is in the jitter, in the tiny quivers of reality, that possibility is born. This invites a more personal reflection. Perhaps your own life, too, mirrors this cosmic truth. What feels like chaos, fluctuation, instability, these are not always enemies. They can be the seeds of new patterns, the hidden architects of growth. Just as the quantum vacuum birthed galaxies, your own moments of uncertainty might be crafting futures you cannot yet imagine. So when you think of emptiness, don't think of nothing. Think of a sea alive with invisible ripples, a background hum that sustains existence itself. Think of a stage whose silence is not absence, but potential. The vacuum is not empty. It is the restless foundation of everything. Picture two coins flipped at opposite ends of the earth. Logic tells you that each coin lands independent of the other, heads or tails, random and separate. But in the quantum world, separation is an illusion. Imagine those coins bound by a thread so delicate, so invisible, that the instant one lands heads, the other must land tails, no matter how far apart they are. This is not magic. It is the mystery of quantum entanglement. Entanglement is the universe's way of whispering, distance does not matter. Two particles born together, interacting once or forged in the same quantum fire, become linked in ways that defy classical intuition. No matter how far they drift, across a lab, across a galaxy, their states remain inseparably woven. Measure one, and you collapse the fate of the other instantly. Einstein once called it spooky action at a distance, for even he, the architect of relativity, wrestled with the unease of this phenomenon. But here's the secret. This is not just theory. Experiments have confirmed it, time and again. Photons entangled in laboratories respond in harmony across kilometers, across mountains, across cities. Their fates mirror each other faster than light itself could carry a signal. And though relativity forbids faster than light communication, the effect is undeniable. The fabric of reality is not stitched together by space alone, but by threads of correlation that run deeper than distance. Think of what this means. The universe is not a scattered collection of separate objects. It is a web, a tapestry, where the state of one strand can ripple into another, regardless of the gulf between them. The stars above you, the particles in your breath, the atoms in your bones, they are not wholly separate. At some level, they are connected, entangled, resonating with one another in ways beyond perception. Now imagine scaling this truth upward. Could consciousness itself be a form of entanglement? Could the connections we feel, love, intuition, empathy, be echoes of this quantum linkage, patterns that emerge when minds and matter align beyond physical distance? Science hesitates here, careful not to overstep, but the poetic possibility lingers. Perhaps our yearning for connection, our sense that we are never truly alone, is not just metaphor, but physics whispering its truth. Entanglement also raises unsettling questions. If two particles can share information instantaneously, what does that say about time and causality? Is the universe less about cause and effect and more about holistic patterns, where everything exists as part of a grand, indivisible whole? Maybe reality itself is less like a machine and more like a symphony, notes sounding together, intertwined in resonance. Even stranger, some physicists speculate that space-time itself, the very geometry of the cosmos, may be built from entanglement. Imagine space not as a pre-existing stage, but as something woven out of invisible correlations. Without entanglement, perhaps space would unravel, collapsing into chaos. In this view, distance itself is an illusion born from deeper unity. So what should you take from this, here, now, listening in the quiet of your room? Entanglement is not just a scientific curiosity, it is a reminder that separateness is not absolute, that the borders we draw between self and other, here and there, me and you, may not be as rigid as they seem. When you breathe, you exchange atoms with the air. When you speak, you share vibrations with the world. When you love, perhaps you are tuning into a thread of connection that physics itself recognizes, though it struggles to name it. The invisible threads of entanglement are everywhere, binding not just particles, but hearts, minds, and the cosmos itself. So, the next time you feel alone, remember, somewhere, perhaps across the universe, particles entangled with you are whispering in harmony. Separation is the illusion, connection is the truth. And so, dear traveler, we drift back from the edge of the quantum realm. We've walked through illusions of solidity, wandered into seas of fluctuations, and listened to the threads that tie distant particles together. We've seen how what feels so certain, matter, light, space, and time, are all veils, masks, dreams beyond our perception. But this is not the end of the journey. The quantum world doesn't close when you turn off this video. It hums beneath every moment of your life, every breath you take, every star you glimpse through the night sky. It waits for your curiosity, for your wonder, for your willingness to lean into the mystery. If these ideas stirred something within you, if they opened even a small window to awe, then join this space we've created together. Like this video if it spoke to you, share your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe to Mind Peace so you can return here, night after night, to wander with us into the mysteries that sleep behind reality. Because you are not just a bystander in this universe, you are part of the dance, a ripple in the quantum sea, entangled with the cosmos in ways that stretch far beyond what you can see. And in that truth, you are never small, you are infinite. Until next time, rest easy, dream deeply, and let your mind float where perception cannot reach. This is Mind Peace.